Joe from MomFit with Joe Peters. Welcome to the Spanglish Network and the H.E.R Network on Single TV channels 250 and 251. Please remember to download both the Single TV app in the respective app stores, iOS and Android devices. While you are downloading, make sure that you rate and leave a comment. The app is free. Single TV is also available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Fire TV, Roku, and Roku Sticks since 2016 in all smart TVs. Welcome to MomFit. On this episode, we are going to have a lot of fun. Our special guest today, Patricia, is working in one of the most needed and rewarding fields around motherhood. If you are uh, a regular in the show, you know this. If this is the first time that you sign up, I want you to write it down. One of my mantras and one of the things that I live from is the fact that we as moms, mom to be, moms in the fourth trimester, even moms up to 18, 24 months of the baby, need to have a support system, a team around us, a team that helps us to thrive. There was not such a thing as doing it by ourselves many centuries ago. That is a new society, modern pressure on moms that the only thing that do is make it even harder for us. And one of those key team members in my own journey and in the journey of a lot of mamas is a postpartum doula. And it's so magical. I want to hear with Patricia because when I was connecting with her, found out that like me, she didn't knew that there was such a thing as postpartum doula. And I bet that a lot of mamas only hear about the doula for pregnancy and birth. So we're going to be learning a lot about this. And I love how Patricia's mom, a mom of two, is been traveling around the world for many years and dedicate her life to actually help moms to not go through what she did with her first son. Very similar to my story on how I got MomFit, because we have the same mission, and is we realize that doesn't have to be as hard, doesn't have to be as painful. And then our mission is to make sure that new mamas will have it in a different way. Patricia, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here. And why we don't just start a little bit with telling us your story, your why, what was the transition with your first son, and how you get into this magic field of postpartum doula.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I'm really pleased to be here. Uh, I I had my first baby away from home. My husband got a big promotion that involved a move from where we live, just outside Seattle, to Japan. And that very same week, we found out that I was pregnant. And I thought, well, this will be a fun adventure having a baby abroad. And I was working as an ESL teacher. I taught English as a second language at the university level for several years before I got pregnant. But I had never yet traveled to Asia to teach. And so this was going to be a really fun adventure. But then when I had my baby, we were in a very small expat community of other military families who had moved to Japan to work in the Navy there. But even in that community, I felt very alone. I didn't know who to turn to or who I could share my story with because it was really hard. My son needed he really needed a lot of attention. And what he didn't need a lot of was sleep. And so I was very exhausted, and he was very tense and very curious and very alert. But every mom that I talked to had this experience of their own, where if they just did this one thing with their baby, the problem was solved. And I tried everything, and the problem was never solved. And so I thought it must be me. There must be something wrong with me and the way that I'm doing it. I will figure this out. And that is not a great way to go about your life. Determined to to push through these things that are actually kind of normal. Um, and for me, that resulted in like probably postpartum anxiety, maybe postpartum depression, but I didn't know it until like a year or a year and a half later. And when we changed some things around and we got a little bit extra help around the house, my son started going to daycare a few days a week. Um, I stopped nursing him because I heard that the hormones, my hormones might rebalance a little bit better after I stopped breastfeeding. So I tried that. And actually, like, the clouds kind of parted, and I was able to start thinking a little more clearly again, seeing opportunities and feeling more optimistic. And that's when I started meeting with other new moms who were asking for help, bringing meals, helping new moms with their baby equipment, and realizing like they were also struggling. And I kind of had felt like I was all on my own. Like I was the only one who was yeah, just really not having a good time in that first year of motherhood, which doesn't make any sense. I can't be the only one, but it felt like it, you know? And so once I started meeting with other new moms and seeing that they too were struggling, that's when I realized, you know, there has to be a better way to connect with them. Because every time I visited a new mom, they apologized because they were still in their pajamas. They hadn't showered. Don't look at the kitchen. I haven't had a chance to do the dishes. Let me pull this laundry off the sofa so you can sit down. And all I wanted to do was help. And they felt too awkward. They couldn't accept it. They said, "Don't worry about it. I'll take care of it." And they were ashamed. And then so then I learned that there are postpartum doulas who, when they are invited into the home, are responsible for looking after these things so that the moms don't have to feel guilty. In-home postpartum doulas do dishes, they do laundry, they hold the baby so that you can shower and get out of your pajamas and feel like you've got your stuff together. And more importantly, help normalize what is happening with your baby, um, help you to sort of um, embrace this stage of motherhood instead of fighting against it. Like, I've just got to get through it. Finding a way to sort of work with the baby that you have and do more than just survive those early weeks. And that is how I became a postpartum doula, because of my experience with my firstborn and knowing that I'm in fact not alone and lots more moms could use support.
Thank you for that. That's beautiful. And I resonate with that so much because my experience was very similar. The only difference is my birth and pregnancy doula is also a postpartum doula, so I had some of that support. But I was actually smiling when I was walking into your bio and then saying like how much sometimes, because the reality is, one, my grandma had a beautiful say that she said to every mom. She was like, okay, extend your hand in front of you and then see how many of those fingers are exactly the same. And then the moms will be like, well, one of them,
Yeah.
like every single one of your five fingers are different. And then she smiled and said like, that is the same with babies. And then the problem with that, like you said, is that moms had experience with their own baby, and there are babies that had very low need on sleep. There are babies that had a very deep need of connection and need to be held. And then you start having things like, and I want to talk with you about this and how these are actually, I want you to share with the moms to be and the moms is, what are some of these toxic comments that
Mm.
sometimes people want to say to help, but at the end they are not helping a mom that is struggling. They are not helping a mom that is having postpartum anxiety. They are not helping a mom that is having postpartum depression. Some of them is, for example, just be happy that he's healthy, or you should be grateful. There is so many moms that are losing their babies or are not having problem having babies, and then go back into what you were saying. Then you put shame into that mom and saying like, I'm struggling, but I'm not allowed to be struggling because I should be just happy. Or the one that I love from your website, enjoy every moment. That's not possible. Like even without babies, even without kids, I want to meet the first person in the world that can say, I enjoy every moment of my day, every day of the year.
Really?
Not possible. Even the
Mhm.
Tibetan monks that are smiling 23 hours of the day don't enjoy every moment. But that is a pressure that we put in these mamas of saying, oh, you should just enjoy the moment. And one of my favorite that is not in your website, but I want to talk with you is,
Mhm.
oh, it's going to get better. The days are long, but the years are short. Those, I think, that are things that people have with their best intention saying, and they I feel almost that they make it even worse for the mama that is struggling. So I want to hear your feedback and how the mamas that are hearing this. I want you to have two things. The first one is that we all normalize what are some of the things that we should not say. So we as females start understanding these are things that we need to skip. What else we can actually say to actually support and help? And then for the moms, then how they can handle when somebody that is ignorant tell them something like that, how they can actually protect their heart, protect their energy, protect themselves, so that that doesn't put them even lower in the emotional roller coaster that they are with the postpartum hormones.
Yeah, that is such a good point. There are the things that we hear and the way that we receive it. And it's really important, like you said, to protect your heart. Um, and so, yeah, I think you're right. The comments that were the most discouraging to me were, enjoy every moment. It'll be over before you know it. When in fact, to me, the days not only felt long, they felt utterly endless. It was relentless. There were no breaks. And the reason that I suspect I had postpartum depression is because I had no hope. And so to say, enjoy every moment, when in fact I did not see the joy, it really did make me feel like I was probably just not cut out for this. And the whole time that I was pregnant, people had told me, you're going to be such a natural. You're going to be a natural. And I did think that I was going to be pretty good at it. I had had experience with babies before. Oh, just yesterday, I was talking with a mom who she had been a nanny for 12 years before she got pregnant. And she had looked after 4 kids under 4 at a certain point. She was going to be fine. But her baby, it turns out, was just like my baby. And it made her feel even worse because she should know what to do and she should be able to find a way to manage. But it was only later when she sort of accepted that, like in her nanny work, she got to go home at dinner time. She got to have a shower by herself. She didn't have to look after babies all night long. She could go hang out with her friends whenever. And then when she went back to work in the morning, she was refreshed and ready for it. And I had no such breaks. And people would offer, but I felt this was my responsibility. It was my duty to figure this out and make it work. So that comment, especially, enjoy every moment because it'll be over before you know it. Well, I would really like to have skipped to that part, please. Like, what can I do to get there now? So that was a really difficult one for me. And what helped a lot with my second pregnancy, knowing that that there was this danger of falling, like you said, into this emotional spiral, was that I managed to set little milestones, little deadlines for myself, because it's important to remember that the 4th trimester, people call it really difficult. The newborn stage is really difficult, but still, I meet with families who say, just this past week, my baby is 4 weeks old and we can't put her down. She always has to sleep on us, and she cries a lot in the evenings, and we just want her to learn to self-settle. And so I know that we talk about the newborn stage being hard, but like, this is the actual work that we're talking about. And these parents who have babies who nap for 2 or 3 hours at a time during the 4th trimester, those are the outliers. And this part where you can't put your baby down for 4 or 6 or 8 weeks, that's normal. And that's why we need the community. But people think their baby is broken or that they are doing something wrong in those first 8 weeks if they can't put their baby down. So for myself, I set milestones. The first 4 weeks are about us laying in bed together, not doing too much and not expecting too much. And then when we get to 6 weeks, we can start shifting expectations. When we get to 8 weeks, by then, a different set of expectations. Instead of thinking like, this is never going to end, and feeling like I had to enjoy every moment. These small weeks are the work of the newborn stage. And that helped me sort of stay grounded and not like spin down.
I love so many things that you said. The
Mm,
first one is thank you for using the term fourth trimester,
mm,
because there is still, unfortunately, so many people that are not aware of the fourth trimester. And I love how you using it in the context of what is expected, because unfortunately, and I think my hypothesis is that part of this is the Western culture into that industrialization of going back to work and produce and all that are putting unrealistic expectations on the mom and the newborn,
on the
because they want the mom to go back into society to produce as soon as fast as easy as possible, and they miss the part of the information that is called, it was developed as the fourth trimester for a reason. Those
Mhm.
3 months, for the moms that are new here and are familiar with fourth, what Patricia was saying about the fourth trimester, we call it the fourth trimester because as more data come in, as more we learn that those first 3 months of life of your baby still think that he is inside with you, that he is one with you, and your body both still think that you are connected, that you are one. Is fourth trimester because we are starting to learn that your baby needs that first 3 months or the fourth trimester, the last trimester, to fully develop, to get that separation from you and start thriving as a individual person, even when literally he's not inside your belly. He still think and is connected and need you as he was inside your belly. I was actually doing some research and find a paper that was stating that there is now some research and hypothesis that says that the reason why we give birth that early, instead, like if you see other animals, the other animals give birth when the baby is ready to stand up and walk. If you see an elephant, a giraffe, we don't, because our body will not be able to hold the baby
Mhm.
for that last trimester. The baby will be just too big. The head of the baby, because the brain of a human being is so big that it will not be possible for a mom to give birth to a baby that is 3 months old.
Yeah.
And nature balance that and say, okay, we cannot give the baby full term inside the belly. We are going to give this baby a little early, knowing that those 3 months, like you were saying, are going to still be the fourth trimester. So I love that. And it breaks my heart like it breaks yours when I work with mamas and they're like, how I teach my baby at 6 days. Like I was working with a mama 6 days old, and she was like, I'm concerned that I'm broken my baby. He cannot self-soothe. I'm like, honey,
Mhm.
he will not be able to set self-soothe for months because his brain is not capable to do that. But still we have those expectations. So thank you for telling that. Now I want to go deeper into that. And what in your experience with your moms that you work, um, what are some of those tips and some of those clear ideas that you say, okay, if you know this, then you are going to feel better? Because the other thing that I think that you and me agree when as we know each other is you compare yourself with what you see in others. But this, my postpartum doula told me that once, because I have a lot of issues breastfeeding my baby, and then I was like crying and I was like, why my journey cannot be like all these happy mamas just breastfeeding
Mhm.
their babies? Why I have to be so painful for me, so hard for me? And then she was like, you are only seeing the top of their iceberg, that is the one that they share. They're not going to be sharing normally the struggles. They're not going to be sharing that they are having to wear their baby 24/7, because we still have all that taboo that this is not normal. So we don't share it. We only share, like you were saying, the outliers, the exceptions. So I'm like, oh, my baby is 2 weeks old and asleep in his own room 12 hours per night. And
Yeah.
then that becomes like, what is wrong with my baby? Nothing is wrong with your
Mhm.
baby. There is something wrong with
Mhm.
that baby, because that baby is not following the normal pattern. So we're gonna talk about that before we go into how the postpartum doulas can support the journey.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, for sure. I think having realistic expectations about what is normal is important, but I think too, remembering that um, you think that two adults are enough people to look after one newborn, and it makes total sense while you're pregnant. Like my husband can take over when I'm tired. I can take over when he's working or tired or whatever. Um, but we don't have to do it all. We don't have to do it all. The baby needs it all, but it's not up to us. And we used to have like a tighter knit community, I think, where mothers would come and stay with us, aunties, sisters, grannies. In the global south, there's a lot more of a culture around the first 40 days of sort of isolation with your with the what is it called in Latin America?
Uh, we call it your dieta. Your dieta are the first 40 days that you never go outside.
Mm,
Like the only time that you go outside is when you have to take the baby to the doctor. And you're right, you have family, friends, everybody coming and helping you bath and taking care. Like literally, they take care. The concept is you have two newborns. Your baby's a newborn. You are a newborn, so you are taking care of that newborn, and everybody else around you is taking care of the mama newborn.
mhm, mhm. And I think that's an important thing to remember about what postpartum doulas do. They're not they're not nannies, and you can get a nanny and sort of have similar benefits. But the postpartum doula is really there to look after you, to help you learn how to look after your baby, to teach you how to, if they have special training, how to breastfeed better, or to help you figure out minor things with feeding, or bottle feeding, how to help feed a bottle to a baby who is breastfed, how to bathe a baby. You can do that together, but they're not primarily there to look after your baby the way that a nanny or like a night nurse would do. They are there to look after you and make sure that the things that you can't do within your household, they can sort of take over so that you can focus on your baby. Because I don't know about you, but I felt very protective of my job as a mother. Like this part is my role. Please don't take this part away from me, because I think I know what I'm doing, even though everything was falling apart around me. And what I really needed was someone to like look after me. And that's what a postpartum doula does.
Absolutely. I love that so much because, and then the other part that I want to be very clear with the mamas, I want you to hear Patricia and me, and hopefully both of us are going to talk with enough passion to give you the empowering to set your boundaries. Because what happens normally is people come and want to help, and the first thing that they say when they want to help is what Patricia was saying, taking over for you with the baby. So, oh, I want to hold the baby. Oh, I want to take care of the baby. You go and do other things, and it's okay for you as a mom to actually have clear that no, thank you so much. You want to help? There are dishes to be done. You want to help? There is laundry to get done. Actually, there is something that I work with my mamas, that is that, and if you are listening, please do this. Make a list of all the things that are critical in your house. That we all are different females, so for me it's not a big deal to have a lot of laundry, but it's a big deal to have a clean kitchen.
Mm.
So make sure that you have a list of those things and have them ready. So when people say what I can do to help, instead of you getting overwhelmed saying like, I don't know, because that is the other thing. Sometimes I feel that you are sleep deprived, you are tired, you are feeling that you are not being enough. So when people offer how I can help, I did it all the time. I was like, it's fine, we are okay. No, we are not okay, but we also don't know what to ask for. So if you have that in preparation, you have that ahead of time, then you can say, hey, these are a couple of things that will really help. And I love, love, love how you're saying that the part of the doula is that taking care of the mom is
Mhm.
not about taking care of the baby, it's about taking care of the mom. And then mom, if you actually want to have a shower, then that is is not I will take your baby when I want it, is I will take your baby when you need me to take your baby, so you can go and have a shower, so you can go and lay down. And that is super super important. Patricia, on that doula work and on that journey, how we can remove the myth and the society constraint that doulas and postpartum doulas are a luxury and they are just for rich people, and how we can start normalizing that. If you ask me, that should be in an ideal world eventually even covered by insurance, because in my opinion, after having my postpartum and working with hundreds of moms, I think that is a necessity. I think that that is one of the things that should be non-negotiable. Like, hey, it's non-negotiable. Patricia is going to be part of my team. She's going to be my postpartum doula, and I'm not negotiating this. I need her with me for the first 4, 5, 6 weeks until I get that momentum. And I will tell you something. Even now, my baby is 12 months old. Last month I had some issues with him sleeping, and I'm having some intrusive thoughts. I called my postpartum doula and I say, I need support and I need help again. And then now she's coming back and helping me a little bit to process all of that. So it is a relationship that is there for you, mama. So how we can change that, Patricia, how we can start seeing a difference so mamas don't feel guilty about that, because it's a luxury, and they start understanding that it is part of putting their oxygen mask first.
Yeah, great question. Um, I think the the important thing is uh, to remember that again, like two adults seems like enough people to look after a baby, but when those two adults are both needing a couple of weeks to find their own footing and confidence and learn about this baby, having other people come in to help you or help you with the baby is super important. But one of the moms that I was talking to this week said that she was really glad that her mom came to help in the early weeks, but it wasn't as helpful as she expected because her mom had conflicting ideas about what how she should be parenting. And so she wished that she had actually um, like brought somebody in who was unbiased, who was like more current with how babies are being raised these days, what is recommended by doctors these days. And this is the mom who had nannied for those 12 years. She had a very clear list of things she wanted on her baby registry. She was very specific because she knew what she wanted, what worked with the babies that she had worked with. But she wished she had cut half of those things out and put it in a registry for a doula, or a registry for like the payments for a pelvic floor physical therapist, which she also didn't know was a real thing. And she was relieved in hindsight that in fact she was already seeing a therapist, and so she continued to see her therapist afterward. But like that kind of support, it doesn't have to be in-home support with your baby, but being able to talk to someone about like your learning process with your baby, the way that you and your partner are working together to look after this new life, to look after you as you're sort of recovering from like 9 months, 10 months of pregnancy, um, and feeling like your life is outside your, there's another life outside your body that everybody is expecting you to look after, but you don't know how because you've never done it before. That kind of support is more important than like getting the upgraded swing, baby swing, or, you know, like 20 onesies that the baby's never going to wear because they're going to outgrow them first. So if it feels like it's a luxury for people with extra money, consider the physical things that the baby is just going to spit up all over, and you're going to have to pass along to somebody else. Don't spend so much money on those things. Look after the things that are going to last, like your mental health, your physical well-being, your self-confidence as a mom. But you can't buy that. You can't put that on Amazon. You can get that from a relationship, and that's what a postpartum doula can, where they can really shine, is if you find someone that you can connect with. That can make such a difference in your fourth trimester.
I'm getting goosebumps and getting emotional because that's so true. And mamas, if you are hearing this, please go. Um if you are still pregnant, go today to your registry, to your baby shower, and literally, I think
Literally.
50 to 60, 70% of the things, take them off and just say in your I think that has to be a beautiful way to normalize it. Baby shower, registry, say what we want is donations towards our doula and postpartum doula
Mm,
H.E.R. And then when you are talking with people after the baby is born, usually people bring also presents for the baby. Be
mm,
very clear since you're pregnant. Hey, we have everything that we want. And then here you can even blame some of your raising structures. You can say, oh, we are doing a Montessori approach. So we are very minimalistically, or we are going to be a minimal thing. So we don't need anything else. If you want to bring something for the baby, the best way is we are having this place where we are actually raising funds to cover the support that the baby and me, or the baby and the mama, need. I love, love, love that idea. And actually, when you were saying about the two people taking care of a baby, it made me remind 3 years ago, when I was in Africa with the H.E.R tribe. And the H.E.R
mm,
tribe is one
mm,
of the oldest lineages of humanity. And
mm.
one of the things that shocked me the most is that I was seeing all these mamas and all these babies.
Yes.
And Patricia, I was not able to understand which mom belonged to which baby belonged to which mom, because is they know that if two people are not enough, they know. So the mama was there, but if the baby cried, the closest female that was there was the one taking care of the baby, because they were also taking care of the mama. So that concept is very powerful, understanding like two people are not enough. And then I want to touch one more point that was golden for me. A lot of the mamas will have the pushback from their mom or their mother-in-law or a family members, and oh, you don't need to waste that time in that money in a doula, because I'm gonna be there, supporting you. And then what happened is, unfortunately, that ends usually tending on more mental and emotional drainage for the mom. For what Patricia was saying, if your mom or your mother-in-law had their own set of beliefs of how you should be raising your kid, how you should handle your baby, in addition to everything else that you're handling, now you're having that conflict and that issue every day with every decision that you make. That
Mm.
is not something that you need, mama. That
No.
is energy that you don't need to spend there. So actually, one of the things that I will encourage you to do, if that happen and they say, oh, I want to come, so like, I'm happy that you come.
Yes.
That doesn't mean that I don't need a postpartum doula, because
Yeah.
you are going to help maybe with the house, maybe with the baby. I still need a postpartum doula. And another beautiful point on that I was thinking is, when you are reaching out to a doula, postpartum doula, make sure that you meet them. So make sure that you have alignment in the values and your mindset and what you're expecting from your baby, because your
Mm,
doula is going to be in your corner. Your doula is going to be in your team, is going to be having your back. So it's very important that even if she doesn't understand, even if she doesn't agree with you 100%, at least she's very clear on what are your expectations, and then we'll be able to support you, like she was saying, in an unbiased way.
yeah.
Now, Patricia, on that one, for the moms that are, I want you to actually share a little bit more on how the moms that are still pregnant can start preparing for that journey of the fourth trimester and the first 12 months. And then what are some of the things that the moms that are in the middle of the tornado right now can do
Mm.
to get some relief?
Okay, so for preparation, of course, the easiest thing to prepare is the baby's stuff, because people will give you things and recommendations for that all day long. So that's fine. The other thing that people often overlook, though, that new parents overlook, is like the household things that need to still get done. Like, for example, looking after pets, making sure that the bills get paid. So, like, one of the things I recommend in my postpartum prep workshop is setting your bills to auto pay while you're pregnant, because you don't want missing bills and like utilities cut off when you've got a newborn in the house. So, if you can set that stuff up to go automatically, do it now, because that's one thing you don't need to have in your brain at that time. Of course, preparing meals in advance, or setting up like a meal delivery service, or setting up like makethemameal.com or mealtrain.com. And like you were saying, you could ask family to, like, instead of baby shower items, you could ask them to sign up for your meal train instead. And instead of, like, if it feels wrong to you to say, please donate money for my cause, you could say, could you gift me an hour with a postpartum doula, for example? That's a small measurable thing that makes it seem like this is real practical help that you're offering. Yeah. So the baby's things, the household, getting the household up and running. And then what I would do is, if you're still pregnant, find out who is local in your area who looks after new moms. So if there's like a Facebook group for your city for new moms, go in there and ask, who do you love that looks after um, newly postpartum women, as a chiropractor, as a massage therapist, a pelvic floor therapist? Who's your favorite lactation consultant? Who do you talk to for, like, maybe home organization, if that's something that you want? Who's a really like thoughtful house cleaner that we could hire for the first 6 weeks or 8 weeks? And just know that if you have that list of resources available, when things are really difficult and it's impossible to make a decision, at least you'll have a place to start. And you won't have to do that research when you're so tired and hungry and also tired, you know? And then when you're in the middle of things, my favorite recommendation is when someone says, oh, what do you need? How can I help? Is there anything I can do? Please just say yes, and then wait and see what your brain recommends. Just say, yes, I would love some help. And your heart will tell you what you need help with. Do you want someone to hold your baby for an hour so that you can, like, shower and nap? Do you want someone to like clean your house? Because if they are offering, just say yes and see what happens. I could really use some help getting these toys put away from my older kid, and like sorting this table of all the paperwork. I just don't know what we need to keep and throw away. And just see what happens. If they offered sincerely, say yes gratefully. And that will do a lot to ease the pressure. But yeah, having, like you said before, to having that list of things that make a difference to you, that make you feel like everything is going to be okay, while you are pregnant, or even like when you're in the middle of things and nothing feels okay, what's the one thing that would sort of restore order to your day? Find a way to make that happen. So the next time someone says, is there anything I can do to help? This is a hard time. You can say, yes. Are you free this week to come over to my house and hold my baby for a few minutes? Or, whatever you need help with.
I love that. And I want everybody to write this down, because then this is magic. Because now you can blame Patricia and I.
Please.
Either if you are pregnant or you are already postpartum, I want you to actually this week share this with as many people as you know in your circles. Like, oh, I was watching a show about pregnancy, and these two ladies say that you should never just ask, do you want some help, or what I can do to help. Instead, and there's something that I want everybody to understand is, after, and I make the mistake, so I want to say that when people do that, is like Patricia is saying, they by heart want to help. Sometimes we are just not that smart and we don't know how to help, so we just ask how I can help.
Mhm.
And I did that before I had a baby,
Mhm.
and I received a lot of those feedback of, no, thank you, we are fine. After I had a baby, I feel so bad for my mama friends, because I was like, of course they say, no, thank you, we are fine, because they are so tired, so overwhelmed, that they are like holding their baby like, I have only one neuron left. I'm not going to
Yes.
spend it thinking how you can help. I'm going to save that neuron and I'm gonna just say no, thank you. So that is like, after that, I have a rule with my husband. We never ask any mom, do you want some help? What I can do? We actually are proactive and jump in it.
Mhm.
Show up and say, hey, we brings this meal, or call and say, hey, are you going to be available this afternoon? I'm planning to stop by and help you with some laundry and some dishes. And in that way, the mom, you will not believe how relieved the mom is going to say, because she's going to be like, oh my God, I have help. And I don't have to think about it. I'm just, the
Mhm.
magic, like the postpartum magic fairies are just going to come to the house and help. And then you can use that this weekend with people that you know. Say, oh, I was watching a show, and these ladies, Patricia and Joanna, said that you should never ask a brand new mom how you can help. You should actually pick something and do it. And
Mhm.
actually, by the way, I'm making my own list of the things that people could help me with. So I love that so much, Patricia. And I actually love how you put the idea of saying, and that will be very easy for everybody. Even you can even add it in your baby shower invitation, is saying, baby E and mama will like for you to consider to give us 1 hour of postpartum doula, this much, 2 hours. And then the
Mhm.
reality is, when you actually think about it, the postpartum doulas rates are not that high. Like, we are not talking about hundreds of dollars per hour. So what
Mhm.
will happen is, when you talk about, I don't know, 50, $60 for an hour, usually what happens is people are like, oh, I can give you 2 hours, I can give you 3 hours. And then you kind of start creating that bank of it. So I love that, Patricia. Patricia, on terms of a little bit of that postpartum depression and postpartum anxiety and that feeling of guilt and shame, why would
Mhm.
I talk a little bit about that? Because I had postpartum depression and postpartum anxiety too. And I know that the data
Mhm.
says that is only 20% of the moms, so
Yeah.
one of every five. My God, my mama got, and my work with other mamas tend to show me that is a lot higher than that. But a lot of those mamas struggle in silence, and
Mhm.
they're not never, like you were saying, aware of it, so they don't talk about it like what it is, or they are so ashamed of it that they don't ask for help, or they don't say, I'm struggling, because, like you were saying, they feel there is something wrong with me.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I only realized that I probably had postpartum anxiety and depression when I was in my training to become a postpartum doula, and I had to read about how what postpartum anxiety might look like in a new mom. And I thought, well, that feels awfully familiar. And so I am one of those numbers that is not part of the statistic, because I did not think that I was anxious, and I didn't really think I was depressed. I just thought, this is a hard time in my life, and I guess it'll get better eventually. And I was very cynical, and that doesn't feel like depression to me. And I went outside every day because that's what you do when life is hard. You go outside, you get some sunshine, you go for long walks with the baby, because what else is there to do with a baby who doesn't like you, a baby who fusses and cries? You go outside for long walks. And that was supposed to be, self-care. I'm looking after myself. I'm not depressed, just nothing's working. And it's never going to get better. But I didn't think I was depressed. But like, those are very clear symptoms of depression, I think. So yeah, and I don't think that women should feel like they need to be like analyzing themselves. Am I depressed? And am I, because there are certainly women who feel like, I can't tell anyone about this, um, because if I tell them that I kind of hate my baby in the middle of the night, they will take my baby away, and so they can't share how hard the overnights are because they are scared, you know, and they can't share how they wish they could just like drive away and go stay in a hotel and not talk to anyone for just 24 hours, because that's not what normal people do. And you want to be a normal and well-adjusted person because you don't want to worry everyone. because it's only temporary and you're sure you'll get over it eventually. And maybe at the next stage, the baby will be a little bit easier. But I can see this is really touching you. And how many other women feel this way? And when you tell them, Joanna, it's going to be fine. You'll be fine. The baby will grow. This too shall pass. It still doesn't make you feel like you're going to be okay. It makes you feel like you're not doing it right. And why don't you cheer up a little? So again, this is why relationships are so important. And if you have friends who are openly sharing about that, that can be a huge benefit. If you have friends who don't even hint about that kind of thing, it will make you feel very alone. And that's when it's really important to find someone to connect with who won't view you as somebody who is broken. And a really good postpartum doula or a counselor or a therapist or even someone from La Leche League, for example, if you're breastfeeding your baby, find someone who is willing to come and chat with you for half an hour while you do a feeding to see if everything's going okay, to share what you're going through. They are also professionals who will make sure that um, the story that you share is validated. They will let you know that they hear you, that your experience does not make you a bad mom, that it is not a reflection of your ability or your identity, but only a lot of times of the expectations of this capitalist society that we live in. Like you said at the beginning, we must be productive. We must get back to work. If we're not doing laundry and keeping the kitchen clean and also have like a smiling baby on our hip, what are we doing? But especially in this fourth trimester, we need to feel as new moms held and nurtured, even when we feel we are in a storm, especially when we are in the storm. Because I think more than half of new moms feel this stormy weather and are afraid to share about it.
And it's emotional because it just really breaks my heart to think that there are moms right now alone feeling that there is something wrong with them, feeling
Mm.
that they are bad moms, feeling scared about why I cannot love my baby unconditionally and I'm hating my baby because I'm being up every 20 minutes for weeks, and then feeling that there is something wrong with them, and then putting that shame and guilt on themselves when it's part of our job is normalizing that and say, no mama, that's normal. You are not a bad mom because you're hating your baby. I actually remember one day my lactation consultant came to help, and I was very overwhelmed with my baby, with the SNS and not nursing and not sleeping and all that. And then she was sharing about one of her friends, and she was saying like, yeah, my friend, one of my friends eventually said like, yeah, there was nights that I want to literally throw my baby against the wall. And then another one of the mom was like, are you serious? And she was like, yes. And she was like, oh my god, she started crying and say, oh my god, I thought that I was the only one. I never tell anybody because I thought that was so wrong, that I was even having those intrusive thoughts, that I was even having those thoughts, that I was so ashamed to even say it out loud. But are you serious? That is also what you thought? Like, yeah. So happy. I agree with you, having that part of connecting with people that are not afraid of being raw. And yeah, it's nice to have the beautiful picture of the baby smiling, and it's also nice to say, oh my gosh, I want to cut my head off. My baby wake up every 20 minutes last night. I don't like my baby right now. And having that echo. And we were talking why that is so challenging, because every mom had a different baby. So if you are in a circle of 4 or 5 moms, and then they all have a more easy going baby, and your baby had a little bit of different needs, a little bit of different sleep patterns, then that is going to actually make you feel reinforce your fear that there is something wrong with you and that you're doing something wrong, because these other ones are not. But one of the things that I love what Patricia was saying is they are the outliers. There's a lot more people that, like Patricia was saying, is feeling this but are choosing to not share it. And I think that it takes responsibility from experts and leaders like Patricia and myself to put this topic out, to make you feel safe, to make you feel that if this is happening, you can reach out to Patricia, you can reach out to me and say, hey, I'm having these feelings and I'm feeling like the worst mom in the world. So we can hold you, we can wrap our arms, and we can give you tools to actually also handle it with your friends or your family that are all the time telling you how their perfect babies sleep 12 hours in their own bed, and like say mama at 2 months old. Like, good for them. It's okay if your baby's not like that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you need to hear that. And if you're not hearing that from your circle of friends, talk to somebody who looks after a lot of new moms, a lot of new babies, because they will tell you that, in fact, it is normal. And but the other thing too is that often those intrusive thoughts only come in short bursts, and then you are like, I did not feel good last night. And you push it under the bed, and you don't want to think about it anymore because it makes you feel bad. And then you go about your day and you kind of feel sort of normal again, and you think this is not a problem for me. And then the next night it happens again. And so it's easy to sort of like to say it's fine, I'm doing okay, I'm managing. But just to hear that what you're going through is normal, and that what you're going through is difficult, yes, I hear you. Like the way that that can sort of like take the pressure off your guilt, your self guilt, and the expectation that you should have it together. It can make such a difference, and you don't realize until someone says to you, this is very common, I understand, you are doing your best, good job. Like, that can make a big difference when you share something so vulnerable. To hear like you're not actually crazy and you don't have to pull yourself together makes a big difference.
Absolutely. And
Mhm.
I think that that is why the work of, I think that is being like one of the biggest secrets of this century, because how I see it is we as society were designed to do this in a much bigger scale with, like you were saying, aunties and grannies and sisters and tribe. And then we move into, I will go a little political, but the patriarchal world of having control over women. So now they took all that support. Now you are by yourself. And then the concept of you are, that is your job as a mom, figuring out how to do it all. And then understanding that you can have it all, but you can never do it all
Mhm.
without a big price for your relationship with your baby, your mental health, all that. And then I think that in that part, angels like you are
Mhm.
starting to come on more and more and saying like, okay, time out,
Mhm.
this is not okay, this is not okay, we cannot keep raising kids on all these unhealthy emotional, mental chaos
Mhm.
that happen for a mom when a mom doesn't have the right support. And then angels like you are stepping in and saying, hey, like you have in your website, doesn't have to be like that. So we are getting close to the end of the show. I really want to have you back in the show because I think that
Mhm.
we have so many things to talk. But last, very sure, tell us how they can connect with you if they want to hear a little bit more about postpartum doula.
Of course. I am on a bit of a social media break, but I have been on Instagram at PP Doula Patricia. And my website, you can just search for Postpartum Doula Patricia. On my website, I have a workshop for pregnant folks who are preparing for the postpartum period. It's my free gift to you, patriciagrenseman.com/free. I would love to help you feel like you're checking off all your boxes and making a connection with somebody who understands what's coming, and can help you sort of um, round out the preparations that you're making for what you're actually going to need in the fourth trimester. So please, I hope that you will find that useful for your preparations.
Thank you, Patricia. This show can also be heard on the Spanglish Radio Network. Please check out spanglishworld.ca for all the news and programming. Spanglish World, watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it.